Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval. Today we'll be reviewing the next French battleship, Normandy. But real quick, there was an update yesterday, and there are a couple things that came out that you might be interested in. So let's take a look at those first. First off, for the Japanese Yamato class battleships, all of them, that includes Yamato, Super Yamato, White Lotus Yamato, and Yamato Refit, the AA graphics have been updated, and it actually is really pretty good. Um, you have to see it to understand it, and hopefully I'll be able to show you in a later video what that looks like. But for right now, uh, if you have the ship, play it. You can take a look to see what the difference is. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed, and I hope they do something similar with the rest of the line, and pretty much actually every single ship in this game, because that was pretty impressive. Uh, Also, there was another sister ship released, that for Enterprise. Now, I am kind of questioning on how I should rename her. So we already have Enterprise, and then we have the Enterprise sister ship. So there's two ships there, but they're coming out with the Hornet later on, which is the third and final ship of the Yorktown class. Wasp is technically a member, but it's also so different that it can be classified as a subclass. So I have actually renamed the base Enterprise as Yorktown, and then the sister ship as Enterprise. And this is what the sister ship looks like. The deck is very nice. I do like the blackout with white lines. However, the green and brown camo, I'm not such a big fan of. I would have at least liked to see something blue. But regardless, another sister ship doesn't hurt. And here we go, one for Enterprise. So there's that. And then finally, the last major thing was that the Russian battleship Kaliningrad has been added for preview. That's not it. Here we go. Kaliningrad Tier 8. And it's a very interesting design. Now, I already knew what this design was going to be before, but seeing it up hand is still quite shocking. So you have two large turrets that have triple 16-inch guns, and that is your main armament. Your secondaries consist of one quadruple 7-inch secondary in the rear, and then you have a bunch of AA mounts in the middle. Now these look very easy to destroy, so keep that in mind. Base stats, just looking at her real off the top of you have good shell velocity on your main guns. You have your health there. The armor on the broadside was said to be very, very weak. Actually, even weaker than Guam. So don't expect much from her in terms of that. Her maneuverability looks pretty, or at least her turning circle looks pretty big. Interesting thing though is that her main guns go out to 23.1 kilometers, but her secondary goes out to 9 kilometers. Now, in the patch notes for when they were first talking about this, the shell velocity on this gun is 1,000 meters per second. So exactly the same as Akazuki and Fenyang. And actually, it's more closely related to Project 84, the final Soviet cruiser, because I'm pretty sure that has 1,000 meters per second too. Yeah, so it's literally having two of these turrets tied into one, and then having that strapped to the back of your ship. So she's not going to be a perfect secondary build, but with a 9-kilometer range, that doesn't seem half bad, honestly, to have some fun with it, especially if it shoots armor piercing, which I expect it to do. AA, there are a lot of AA guns, and the AA stats do look pretty impressive, honestly. There may be some good sides to going into AA skills for her. And then lastly, her speed of 32.5 knots. Like I said, this is just a preview, it's all subject to change. However, I do see her being very similar to something like Richelieu, or at least Jean Bart. You have the guns in the front, you have secondaries in the rear, and you have a bunch of AA in the middle. Your armor's not great, but your speed is pretty good. she will just be a much weaker version, I guess you could say. We'll see. Like I said, once she comes out, we'll get her and we'll see how she plays. But today's video is focusing on Normandie, which is honestly not one of my favorite ships. But let's take a look at the stats regardless. 52,800 health, which is actually almost the same as Kaliningrad, isn't it? Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, okay, so Kaliningrad doesn't look like she has a lot of health. Tier 8. Yeah, there's ships that have almost 80,000 health, so she doesn't have that much health either. She's more like a battle cruiser. Alright, Normandie. 52,800 health, 12% torpedo resistance, so a little bit better than before. However, not enough to make it actually seem worthwhile, honestly. You will still take major torpedo damage. Armor up to 300 millimeters, it says. Well, 360 it says maximum, 300 on the belt, which is about 12 inches. And it looks like a lot around the turret barbets and turret faces themselves. Very centralized citadel as well. Even though it may look powerful, she's still relatively easy to citadel. Not as easily as the first two French battleships, but not impossible at the same time. We have 340 millimeter guns, so we have, what's that, 13 and a half or so? Yeah, sounds about right. Alright, regardless, we have three quadruple turrets. 4 quadruple turrets is tomorrow. But we have one in the front here, one in the middle here, and one in the rear here. Now you can see how they're separated into 2 sides. And each one of these is technically a separate turret. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different turrets you can fire. And that's how it's shown in the game as well. You can fire half the turret in one target and then half the other 2 barrels at another target. So that's very good, and the only ships currently right now that have quadruple turrets that can separate that, ships like Prince of Wales and King George V, do not have that capability. Alright, the guns themselves, low caliber, well, I say low caliber, but it's pretty actually average. On tier 3, this is what? Well, tier 6 technically. So you have New Mexico's and Fuzos, which also have 12-inch or 12 guns, but they're 14-inch, so they're a little bit bigger. And then your gun range is 19.7 kilometers. Your shell velocity is not the best either. She does have merit as an HE spammer, but the main problem I have with these guns is this middle turret. And, well, actually, all the turrets themselves. The gun angles are actual trash. Like, you have to be like this to use all your guns, and that's way too much broadside. And then secondaries shoot out to 5 kilometers. You have casemate secondaries. You have 3 there, 3 here. You have 2 superstructure secondaries here and here. You have more superstructure secondaries, and then more casemates on the sides. So it's a mix of both modern and old. And honestly, the secondaries are still pretty trash. And lastly, we have our speed, 26 knots, which is actually pretty respectable considering you have Fuso is what, like 25 maybe? And then you also have New Mexico, which is 21. And then add to that, you are able to use a speed boost for the first time. And this is actually pretty useful. This is the one useful side of the ship. You can get to good flanking positions, and if you need to have a quick getaway, you can also use that for, well, getting away. She also has repair and heal. I do have her focus for accuracy, mainly because the dispersion with quadruple turrets on the entire French line can be kind of wonky. Some ships are better than others, but especially at these lower tiers, you shoot all 12 of your shots and you maybe get 5 hits. So I really want my shells to hit when I fire, so I have them focused for accuracy, and then rudder shift and disaster retardant. You do run into carriers. AA defense is absolutely terrible. Yeah, this is a very AA weak ship. You don't really get good AA on your French battleships unless you're a Dunkirk, which is also the same tier as Normandy. And then Jean Bart and above all have good AA as well, but Normandie does not. Alright, so enough with that. Let's toss into a game and see how we can do today. Alright, here we have ourselves a game. Bunch of battleships, couple cruisers, one destroyer, no carrier, thankfully. The main focus of this ship, I feel, is going to be as a cruiser killer and or HE spammer. Her armor piercing can be powerful if you go on a broadside, but if the target is angled, specifically other battleships, you will just ricochet off. Now you can see I have 6 gun barrels at the bottom here, or at least gun turrets. Like I said, you do have 2 separate turrets in each one, and you can control them independently, which is a neat aspect of the entire French line. One thing that World of Warships has that I actually kind of hope that they put in this one is that there is a camo you can get for the Normandy in World of Warships that makes it look like the passenger line in Normandy. So it has the black hull, it has a white superstructure, it has an orange funnel. Very reminiscent of French passenger liners during the time. I actually really like that camo, and I could possibly see that as a sister ship for this one eventually. Maybe. I hope so. I doubt it, though. Alright, so I am technically in range. Where is it Dunkirk, right? Oh, no, she's Canadian. Alright, so let's see what we can do against this Atlanta. I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied at this time as well, so keep that in mind. Also, it seems like the sound quality from yesterday's video was better, so I think I'm going to stick with what I have now. If it ends up you can't actually hearing anything, I do apologize, but you still have a video feed. Alright, so as you can see there, 12 shots, only 4 hit. It was about on target though, so it wasn't terrible. And we did get a fire as well, which is also helpful. Relatively fast reloading. Yeah, this is one of the main reasons why I love the French line. Your guns may not be the biggest, but you have good rate of fire, and you also have a good number of barrels. Which is why I'm really excited for at least the Dreadnought side of the Russian battleship line, because you have the same kind of setup. You have a lot of barrels, but you also have the large gun caliber, probably at the expense of rate of fire though. So ships like the top tier one, which has 4 quadruple 16-inch turrets, I expect that to have a really slow rate of fire, but we'll see. Right, so I am still using high explosive right now. Most of it is shattering, as you can tell, but it doesn't hurt to get a couple good salvos in and burn down some damage. Okay, this one I will switch to armor piercing. And then I'm going to pop my speed boost in a minute once I get up to speed to see what we can get. Remember, I do have speed buffs applied, but we can still get to almost, I think, 30 knots. Let's take a look. And then we have armor piercing, and let's see if we can delete this Naval. You are a good cruiser kill if you give enough weight to your target, of course, or aim at it correctly. That was still a good portion of the damage, though. Alright, so it looks like we're going to be facing off against 3 battleships by ourselves here. So let's see what we can do, because we have to play with our armor and use it to our advantage. So this Normandy is giving us broadside, so I'll take care of that. And 30,000 damage, or just about. As you can see, there's the secondaries on my ship. They have the same high shell arcs that we have already seen before in the past. Not always the best, but as you can see, 11 armor-piercing 340mm shells can make easy work of broadsiding battleships. May not sink them all in one go, but it'll definitely put a good chunk of damage into their side. And I already said about this Normandie once. Let's see if we can do it again. So you can see how your armor may not be as strong as it says. 12 inches of armor doesn't stop you from being Citadel. And then Queen Elizabeth. She can be Citadel, but she also takes major chunk damage. So let's see what we can do. Yep, there we go. 17,000 right off the bat. I'm actually going to turn around here because there's a lot of battleships that already got by me that I can still do more damage on if I turn this way. So we're only going to use one turret right now. And then once we're on this side, there's the middle turret. And I don't have enough time to shoot the front one again. That's fine. I might have to switch to a high explosive because these angles are not good for armor piercing. And that was not enough lead. But I still got a pen, so we'll take it. Alright, so the last 4 battleships are all right here. So let's see what we can do against this Bayern. Once this rear turret comes around, we should be able to get her, actually. Close enough. Poppy Hill because we got a little bit of damage. Not that much, though. Alright, so we're going to let the Bayern heal a little bit so we can get some more damage. Well, they're all focused on my team. And we're going to go against the Queen Elizabeth. We never actually saw what our max speed was, so let's activate another speed boost. And work on this Normandie a bit. Alright, so we're at almost, what, 33 knots already? Yeah, there's about 33 knots. So we're going as fast as in the highway right now, and we're at tier 6. Secondaries are going in, however they're not being very effective. Then again, I didn't really expect them to be anyways. So, there's that. We don't really get good secondaries on your ships until Richelieu and Gascogne. Dunkirk can, but it mainly fires high explosives, so limited ability to do some serious damage. It's when you get the 6-inch armor-piercing secondaries that you have a lot of fun. Alright, I could keep working out. Yeah, let's keep going with the secondaries on Queen. He ain't going anywhere. And she's not aiming at us either. Or at least that's not what it looks like. Sometimes if you look at the bots, like their guns will be facing as they are in this way. So right now it looks like they're facing behind her, but then all of a sudden you'll see shots coming at you, and you're not prepared for that, and so you take major damage. We got another fire. Secondary kill. Or maybe it was fire. It doesn't say. 7 ricochets and a pen for no damage. Awesome. As you can see though, you do have to give so much broadside in order to get all your guns off. It doesn't always work out for you though. We already saw the armor on the first one. Let's see if we can triple Citadel her and sink her in one shot. So, you have good speed, you have pretty decent guns, bad gun angles, good maneuverability, very squishy armor, I want to say. It can be good if you're like angled, but if you give broadside, which you have to in order to get your guns going, you're going to take major damage in Citadel hits. Secondaries, you have a lot of them, however the shell arcs are quite high. We never actually went over the damages. 248,000 damage, 4 ships sunk, 171 shell hits, 5 citadels, 7 fires, 1 module destroyed, 23 secondary hits, 6,200 base XP. 17,000 was in high explosive, 193,000 was in armor piercing, fires did 32,000, and secondary battery did less than 5,000. So after all those hits on the Queen E, all that damage was pretty much from the fires that they set, not from the actual shells themselves. Also, I don't know what the caliber is of these guns, but I would assume maybe 6-inch, at least on the casemates, probably 5-inch on the superstructure ones. But like I said, I don't know, so don't hold me to that. Regardless, though, they're not very powerful. So a mix of speed and rapid firing guns at the expense of gun angles and armor and AA. So that is the basic rundown of Normandy. With that, I will wrap up today's video, and join me tomorrow as we go over the next French battleship, Lyon, which has 16 main guns. So until then, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.